Joel, I'm thinking about doing a Rotary Foundation next week. And then we log on to my Rotary. So Joel said, say no more. Tuesday morning, I was busy trying to earn a living. I see a poster. Journey to PHF. So now, I was asking myself, what do you mean becoming a Paul Harris Fellow at series introduction? So then I figured it behooves me to prepare a PowerPoint presentation where I shall bore you to death. That's not enough. Let's go to the next slide.
Did you choose that picture or it was Mutu?
That was Mutu. But it's not her picking pictures of me. I mean, that will never be an issue. Seriously, on to serious matters. We shall start by defining what Rotary Foundation is in terms of the mission. Thereafter, we shall look in great detail the areas of focus. Thereby, we shall look at avenues within which you give it. Rotary, before I ask you questions about how you understand what Rotary Foundation is. So, we shall start with the mission. Anyway, that's not how it's going to go. When I was thinking about the series, in terms of road to PHF, so there was two ways about doing it. So it was either I just come and tell you, I woke up one day and decided to give to the foundation and I became a PHF, or I share with you my understanding or my evolving understanding of what Rotary Foundation is. And I believe that is the only way we shall increase our giving as a club. And particularly for the new Rotarians, I think we put the cart before the horse. So we always talk about foundation and PHF, but probably not many of us have any idea what that foundation is, how it has come about, and the good that it has done in the world. So the first thing we need to appreciate is the moment you become a Rotarian, the benefit you get is the Rotary Foundation. And the bit about the Rotary Foundation is this is the avenue or the vehicle you will use to impact your community. So what I discovered is, I think over the past 100 years, the Rotary Foundation has provided more than $4.5 billion to fund projects around the world. So basically, if you've ever given to the foundation from the time you became a Rotarian, no matter the amount, it counts into the $4.5 billion that the foundation has. So it's quite the fund, if I can say so myself. And non-Rotarians can actually give into the foundation, but the foundation is like an exclusive benefit. The moment you become a Rotarian, so I understand someone wants to become a Rotarian, so the moment you become a Rotarian, that's a benefit you get. And this is the avenue you can use to impact your community. So you can imagine you get this pot of funds that come to you. But there are various ways within which that money comes to you. That's what we will look at. So, next slide. So what happens is this. The foundation has what we call the areas of focus. So you probably would look at an area that you're passionate about, either as an individual or as a club. Right? So remember, those are the areas that are there. So we as a club have been big on water, sanitation, and hygiene. And we've also had projects under basic education and literacy. So one of the projects that comes to mind, and we will look at it as we go along, is what we call the Kirka. So where we provided water to a community by drilling a borehole. So that is under water and sanitation. And then there are various ways within which when you give to the foundation, you get access to those funds. So basically, what we're saying is this. You look at an area that you're passionate about as an individual or as a club within these 5 areas. And I do believe either they are clubs or maybe Rotary. The guys who are more versed with Rotary information will tell us, I do believe they want to add environment. The Rotary wants to add environment, if it's been added.
It's already there.
It's already there. Yeah, it's already there. You see now that it keeps expanding, so that you can also have if you're big on the environment. And I do believe that's why they went to do the digital tree planting yesterday in Kanake. So now, you can see the story that we're building. So once you're a Rotarian, you get the benefit of getting into the Rotary Foundation. The Rotary Foundation does have areas of focus that you can identify, areas you're passionate about, and you can give into that. Let's go to the next slide. Now, so the various ways when you give into the foundation that they've classified the grants. So a lot of these things are based on my own understanding. So if you're in the room and you have a more understanding of some of how this works, you can help me with the presentation and just add. So we do have what we call district grants and global grants. So we as a club have participated in both. So I'll just read what the district grant is, because I was doing my research. So the district grant is actually a single annual block grant that is made to the district. Now, let me now stop using jargon. So Rotary, the way it has been, divided into regions, they're called districts. So we in Kenya are in District 9212 that has Kenya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and South Sudan. So there are those funds that we are eligible for as a district, courtesy of the giving that we do into the foundation. So that's why they're calling them those annual block grants that are made to districts, and they amount to 50% of the district designated fund. So there's a fund that is designated to each and every one of those districts. And these funds are, how they come about is, we are allocated like 50% of the total contributions made to the annual program fund. So later on in the presentation, I'll show you how you give it to the foundation. So you just don't give it to a pot. It goes into various funds. So you have an annual fund, you have every Rotarian every year, etc., etc. You can even give to and polio. There's quite a number of those. So amongst those funds, there's something that is called an annual fund, which you as a district are eligible for within a specific period, a percentage of within a specific period. I'm trying to just simplify it so that you understand. So a lot of these things you may need to just read for yourself. So the district grant can fund multiple club and district projects, which are local or international. So we do have one district grant, that is MITHU. So remember, MITHU is the project, the water insemination project that we're doing in an area called Changala, where this community were able to drill a borehole, but they didn't have a way of distributing the water to the community, like around 2,000 households. So we applied for this grant, what we're calling the district grant, and they gave us the funds to do that distribution. So we bought tanks, and we bought pipes. So that is what, in fact, today was when they were just trying to check out the fittings of how to distribute the piping. And then, of course, there's a way we need to report, because we have to be accountable for the funds that we received from the district grant. Now, I'm happy Josiah is here. We also applied, Josiah, when did we apply for the global grant?
I think we started the process in 2012, and I think 2014.
2014.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what a global grant? So, we've all understood the district grant, because we were district 9212 and what have you. So, global grant is bigger in terms of the impact it has and the minimum within which you can get from Rotary Foundation. So, the minimum grant award under the global grant is out of a total budget of maybe $30,000, the minimum you can get is $15,000. And then the district designated fund for allocation for this is matched 100%. So I think the matching is, the other one is 50%, so whatever it is that you're applying for is matched 100%. That is my understanding. So if you have a different understanding, just help us so that we do appreciate the funding. Like I've been to 3 or more trainings, so every time I was reading it, it's just something new. So for a global grant, this project is sponsored by what you call a host club in the project country and a club outside the project country. So when you're applying for this massive grant, you have to have another club outside the country. So for us, there was a club in Illinois that is the Steamboat Springs.
Steamboat Springs.
Yeah, so I think Isaac is the one who identified the need, identified the Rotary Club, and then they put us together. So we are the host club, because the project that we wanted to work with under the global grant is Kenya. Then the international club is outside. So that is how we want to get the global grant. And for us, the biggest lesson we learned was reporting. So this, for me, the thing that has made me stay in Rotary is seeing the impact of some grants. So I can see the district grant, what it's doing now, and the work we've had to put in the number of trips that we've made. And then we've also seen the impact the global grant has. So from a small project where we drill the borehole, it grew legs to a point where the community owned that project. So we've gone to a point where the gentleman who came up with this idea and worked with us in terms of the global grant is one who's helping us with the reporting and managing this project. And then these projects will just continue into perpetuity, whether or not we are here or we're not. So that's that. So let's go to the next one. So basically, so let's go back. So the long and short of it is this. The money you give into the foundation, this is where it's heading. So for you to do any project as a Rotarian, it comes back to we have to give. So it stops being I just want to be a PHF. It means you need to look at it from the point of what are some of the projects that we need to do, what are some of the grants that we need to apply for, and what does that mean for me as a Rotarian. So I first start by the areas of focus that I'm passionate about, and then my giving goes towards me having an impact on the community by applying this, the club applying for these grants. So it comes back to you. So it doesn't stop with you being a PHF. It continues, even if you're a major donor, what have you. The $5, the $10, just remember, it end up having an impact somewhere. So if you don't give, it means the guys in Kirkau, the guys in Changala will not have the benefits of getting piped water, for example. So that's how you need to look at it. So your journey to be a PHF needs to start from something. So I had hidden that slide. Just go to the next one. Yeah. Go back. No, that's fine. I talked about this. Yeah. So this is the funding process. So remember what I talked about. So your contribution starts here. And then when we log on to the portal, you can either pick the Polio Plus, which goes towards polio eradication. And then what you call the annual fund, these projects and the endowment, they go into an investment vehicle called the share investment account. Then it can either go to the World Fund or the district dedicated fund, which you access after 3 years. So this is what gets into your district grant. You allocated 50% of what you've given, and then these others goes to the global grants and any other funding programs that the foundation deems fit. There are other processes in which they go. So this is quite important. So the money that we give, today, the funded shillings, which you convert into USD, starts here. And then we'll either allocate it into the annual fund, mostly, or the Polio Plus. So sometimes, once you get what we used to do before, we would do a foundation moment and send it to the director. Then, for example, you leave it to Lydia's discretion. So she may decide to split it 50-50, or she can just pump it into the annual fund. But once you know this, and once you start giving as your own individual, where you either use the short code or you use your credit card online and see, you get to choose where you want the funding to go. But then at the end of the day, just remember, a lot of these funds come back to you. So the more you give, the more we're able to do legacy projects. Now, so this is the annual fund. So let's go back. So I think these slides will start, I'll read them for you. Just let's go back. So I think I'll define the annual fund and every Rotarian every year. So for the annual share fund, so what happens is when you contribute to the annual fund through this share investment program, half of your gift becomes available for your district and clubs to use whichever way you choose. And then, for example, if you give $1,000, $500 becomes part of your district designated fund. You know what comes to the district, what we're doing with Changala. And then this is the money that your district will use to fund our local and international projects. And then the other fund goes to the other percentage goes to the World Fund. So these funds now are used for worldwide grants. So other clubs around the world will have access to that 50%. So basically what I think the thinking for them is, I think the more you give, the more you have access to some of these funds. So districts that are active with both district and global grants get full impact of their gifts made there by members through the annual fund share program. So the more you give, the more you access that program. And remember, we don't have to sit. Think about it the way you pay rent, or for those who are religious, the way you pay your tithe, or whatever it is. Just haba. That's the secret. So the more frequently you give, the more our share is. And the more our share is, the more we're able to access those funds and give into projects. So I'll give an example. So the biggest challenge that we have at the district fund, based on what was due to us as a result of the giving, it's not that much for Changala, the project that we're doing in Mithi. So we've had to now fundraise outside. You know what I mean? So as opposed to us fundraising outside, what it means therefore is we need to give more, so that we access more. And then we're able to implement such projects quickly. Because right now we get to a point where we start, we come back to the members. Because the district grant, once they give you, they expect us to start reporting. But if it falls short, based on the project or the vision that we have, it means therefore we have to fundraise. So the long and short of it is we need to increase our giving. So for me, my thinking would be increase, probably when we get more knowledge, we will give more. And when we're able to give ourselves, and that's what I'll show you, it means we don't have to do the $1,000 before, because that's the impression we used to get. So like I have to wait until I get the $1,000, then I give them to become the PHF. That's what it is. Sometimes I give $2, sometimes I give $1, sometimes I give $200. It depends. But at any one point in time, there's no single time that I don't give. So it goes. So, but then you remember, so now when we compound that and we say that 35 of us are regularly giving, then we will have more impactful projects. Because we have new members who've probably never been to Kirkau, so they've not seen the kind of impact that project has had, to a point of, commercially speaking, the land in that area appreciated because there's water. So when people build this, actually, the first thing they are told is, hapa kuna maji, because there's a borehole. And the community is so organized that all those households just get piped water, and at any one point in time they have water, and they are built. And it's such a nice community to live in. So we can go to the next slide. So basically I've just explained to you how your giving starts. So the giving you give today, how it just cascades into this. And the moment you give today, so you can only access these funds 3 years. So 3 years from now, if you give now, those are the kind of projects that we'll be able to do should we apply for a district grant. Next slide. I've talked through that one. So every Rotarian every year. So it just goes to, it's a way of Rotary figuring out how we can, you can just keep giving. So there are instances where they would argue $25 translates, I don't know how they did the math, 25 times 100 divided by either 30 days. So if you spend X for a beer, that can translate to the $25 that you need to give. At any one point in time, there are various avenues within which you can give as a Rotarian. Next slide. Now, so this is now the sweet spot. So because you give, you're recognized. So you can either be an Harris Fellow, you get into the society, then you become a major donor. We'll go through each of these ones. There's Archiclara, Benefactor, and the Bequest Society. So what I saw in, when we went for the Rotary International Convention, so what happens is, you see that's a gathering of Rotarians from all over the world, where you sit and meet. But there's normally activities outside the convention. So there were specific dinners for these guys, that's when you realize you're just these dudes, yeah, they had their own dinner, because you know that's a different volume altogether. And for them, it's the more the network can give, all they talk about is the kind of impact their giving has had in terms of the project. So this is a way to incentivize us to give. So when you have those pins and what have you, getting into these societies, you get to actually go to, like I keep saying, so belaboring that point, so when you go to Kirka, when you go to Mitu, you actually see how your giving is impacting the community within which you live. Next slide. So a person who contributes, this is now a PHF. So either contribute $1,000 or somebody can contribute in your name. So you don't necessarily have to have contributed this $1,000. Somebody can contribute in your name. So the Spaniards, man, they shouldn't be taking you to some of these places. Ask us, man. Give $1,000. It's not just buying new gin and whatever else we buy. What else do we buy? What do we do for you? We take you to Naivasha. I want to let you flip a So either way, you can give it your name, or we can transfer points. So Wilson, at that time I think I was at $700. So Wilson transferred, I believe, $300, and that's how I became a PHF. So now I have $800 more to contribute to become PHF plus one. So somebody can actually give on your behalf, or you can, if you have points, you can transfer to somebody else. Next slide, it's still about the PHF. So you can either contribute to, let's go back. What's happening is the titles, yeah, but in white one, that's fine. Yeah, so this is the annual fund. So the next one I'll read for you. The next one, this is the, let's go to the next one. So this is what we call a major donor. So a major donor are those who outrightly or cumulatively contribute $10,000 or more to the foundation, to the Rotary Foundation. Keyword here is cumulative. So, haba na haba, that's the one thing. So your $100, your $1,000, your $2,000, your $8,000, your $5, it keeps accumulating. So you can spend a lifetime by the time you get to $10,000, but either way, you will never lose that value. So every time you give to the foundation, it accumulates. That's how I became a PHF, because I've been giving for quite a while. When you look at your statement, I think I showed you mine, you see the instances where it's constant, but the instances where I stop and then I come back again. And that's that. And of course, I think those are benefits. And then there's recognition levels within the Madaraka. Let's go back. So that is not captured in my scope. Yeah, there. So there's recognition donors, levels as a major donor. So remember, cumulatively, you've given $10,000. So between the first level of a major donor is between $10,000 to $24,999. Level 2 is $25,000 to $49,900. Then level 3 up until level 4 where it's $100,000 to $249,000. So if you give $250,000, you become what they call the Arch Clamp Society. It's the dude who came up with the Rotary Foundation. Let's go to the next slide. So donors will contribute $250,000 or more either as a one-time gift or cumulatively over a number of years become an Arch Clamp Society. So these guys receive a certificate, a crystal recognition piece, and a pin or pendant. So now you guys see now the other thing they get is that their portraits are displayed in the interactive Arch Clamp gallery. It's like a traveling kiosk showing the galleries displayed at each international assembly. I don't remember seeing it. Maybe it's because I'm not an Arch Clamp. I didn't say it. So that's what happens. And then now, of course, there's levels. So there's a trustee circle, there's a chair circle, and then there's a foundation circle. So they're like the dudes who've given $1 million or more. And so I found there were those guys at in the RI convention. I probably believe that these are the guys who probably were having dinner with our president. The rest of us were just sitting out. Can we shake our hands? And then, of course, there's the next one is the request society. So you can give, your estate can actually give into the Rotary Foundation. And then there's various levels. So either yourself, you can say, part of my estate, when I die, I give a specific amount to the Rotary Foundation. The long and short of it is this. I'll talk about that later before. So the long and short of it is, nothing stops you from giving. And the money you give ends up coming back to either your club or your community. Or it impacts somebody somewhere in a far-flung area of the world. So that thing, for me when I got the PHF, that just got my wheels turning. And then I went into a rabbit hole of trying to understand and appreciate what Rotary Foundation. So I've never struggled to give to the foundation to a point where I stopped depending on Lydia. So before I would send up like Lydia was the director, even when Josh was director, or when Henry was director, or when all these dudes, or who else? Jockey, Malaki, even Malaki, isn't it? Like at any one point in time, I used to send them. But then when I hit PHF, I was like, I don't need to depend on these guys. I can do it by myself. So I'll show you. So just sit down and I give. Next slide. So I tried my best, but it just lost the. How do you explain? For me, this is the secret. This is like your bank statement. At any one point in time, I'm sure you guys know what you have in your Pesa balance or your bank account. Or even for those with kids, you know what your balance is, plus or minus. So the moment you have access to your donor history report on my Rotary, where we're heading now, you'll get, it starts spurring you to see how far you are from being PHF. And then it gives you the opportunity to think, I don't need to give them $1,000. I can hit 500 and then somebody else will match the 500. Go to the next slide. Now, so how can you be, so what do you need to do? Not just become a PHF. What do you need to do to impact your community? You have to give to the foundation. You don't have to depend on me as the foundation director. You can do it yourself. You can subscribe to this grants and giving newsletter. you participate in the DG challenge. So we'll start with the My Rotary, then we'll do it together. You need to be logging on to Rotary.org.